Good evening and welcome to the Folan's Homework Space webinar, especially for MFL teachers. And I'm so delighted that so many of you are attending this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm here now with a couple of our panelists this evening. So first of all, I have Connor Walker, and he is going to take you through the benefits of Homework Space for you, the MFL teachers. So he'll really give you a good indication of what it's going to be like specifically for you as MFL teachers, how it's going to really help you in the school. And then Kira McNamara, who is head of digital learning platforms, she is going to do a full deep dive into the platform of Homework Space, so you can really get a good sense of what the question types are, what it's going to be like for you using it, what it would be like for your students using it. And then finally, at the end, I'll take you through the prices and a bit of a Q&A at the end. So my name's Lizzie Gibbon. I didn't say that at the beginning. My name's Lizzie Gibbon. I am the field sales manager here in Poland. And Connor, who I'm going to be handing on to next, he is a head of post-primary publishing. So I'm going to hand over to Connor now, who's going to take you through the benefits of Homework Space for you teachers. If you just give me one moment. There we go. I think you should have control there now.
I'll try it now. Thanks, Lizzie. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your time. As Lizzie said, I'm going to step through the benefits of Homework Space. Here we go now. But I think before that, maybe just before I dive into that, I thought I'd give everybody a little bit of an explanation of what it is and how it works. So what is Homework Space? Well, it's our new digital homework solution. We brought it out. It's from Folan's, and it covers subjects for junior cycle. Then it's also curriculum aligned, and it is made up of a series of ready-made homework assignments. So basically, each homework is a bank of questions which students attempt. And the way that it works is that the teacher sets the homework, and when that's done, then the students go into the system, they open up their homework, they answer the questions, they submit their homework, and that comes back then to the teacher. It's recorded by the system, and the system automatically marks each student's answers. And from that, then the teacher can review results and track progress over time. Another thing important to note with Homework Space is that it can be used alongside any textbook. It doesn't matter whether you're using the Folan's textbook or another textbook. It's very much an independent thing, Homework Space. And there's a few areas, I think, where it can possibly help teachers. Certainly, from the conversations that we would have with teachers, homework is something that's necessary, but it's sometimes viewed as a necessary evil. And we hear a lot about the drudgery of having to mark homework and manage homework. So with Homework Space, because it has ready-made content written by expert teachers, it has automatic marking and also feedback provided. There's a time-saving element to that. There's also a progress tracking element to Homework Space. So because it's set up to record results at a class and a student level, teachers can very easily dive in to their class reports, and over time you develop a picture of how your class or your students are progressing. You can drill down at a student level to have a look at how a particular student might be performing and what areas they might need to revise or what areas you might need to intervene. It's also an alternative to paper-based homework, and it's digital, it's interactive, and because of that, there's a student engagement element also to it. And then it's one of those things that where at the end of the homework, a student can see what results they get. They're practicing, they're reinforcing their acknowledgement, but there's a sort of a motivational element to Homework Space as well. And just generally speaking, it's easy to access. No matter where you are, once you're online, you can access your Homework Space. One of the areas that's obviously very topical at the moment is the move towards blended learning. And certainly from my conversations with teachers and the research that we've conducted either as Folan's or in conjunction with the Irish Educational Publishers Association, teachers do believe that they have the greatest influence on the integration of digital in the classroom. And that's something that's happening, I think, at an accelerated rate because of COVID. And that will continue to happen. And the majority of teachers that we've spoken to, they believe that their use of digital will increase over time. So with that happening, I think that homework space is something that could help to support the move to digital integration with your class or in the classroom and use a more blended approach to teaching and learning. So just to step through what subjects we have available in homework space, it's very much at the moment a junior cycle focused program, and we have homework space for maths, higher level and ordinary level, for Irish, higher level and ordinary level. Then for MFL subjects, French, German and Spanish, which I'll go through. We've also got a homework space for science, a homework space geography and a homework space history for junior cycle. So next, I'll step through the structure and how it's all pieced together. So probably the best thing to do is to think of homework space as your textbook. And if you can visualize that, it's very easy to understand then how homework space is structured. Each subject is made up of its chapters, we call them units. And then within a unit, there's a series of homework assignments on key topics and skills that need to be covered. And certainly with MFL, there's a strong language focus and also vocabulary and grammar focus in the homework assignments that we've developed. Clicking through if I can to the next, yeah. So within the homework space, then you take your homework assignments. There's usually, in the case of MFL, either 6 or 8 homework assignments which you complete. And then every chapter or unit concludes at the end with revision or final test, like what you'd see in a textbook. And everything that we've produced in homework space is very much with an eye on the curriculum. So in the case of French, Spanish or German, we've developed it in line with the MFL specification. So here's how it's structured. There's 3 different strands or 3 different homework space courses that we have. So the first is French, then we've got German and Spanish, and there's a similar but not identical structure for them. For French, units 1 to 12 map to first year, broadly speaking, and then units 13 to 26 then focus on the second and third year. German, it's a little bit different but similar. First 8 subjects are mapped to first year, and then units 9 to 21 cover second and third year. Then for Spanish, there's 22 units within it, and the first year units are from 1 to 10, then from 11 to 22, you've got second and third year. And as I think I mentioned earlier, each homework assignment within a chapter or a unit has a very strong either skill, grammar or vocabulary focus. And in the planning of this and with the teachers that we worked with in writing it, there is a very clear and careful progression from chapter 1 all the way up, so that difficulty is built in as you progress, but certainly you're starting at a foundational level of building your way up in the same way that you would probably see in a textbook. So what I can do next is step through some examples of how it looks for French, German, and for Spanish. So this here is an example of Unit 7 or Chapter 7 for junior cycle French homework space. And as you can see, the green activities here, which I'm just rolling over, 7.1 through to 7.6 cover the homework assignments. So the first one, 7.1, is a vocabulary homework. 7.2 focuses on grammar. 7.3 is listening. 7.4 is reading. 7.5 is another listening homework, and 7.6 is another reading. And then at the end, in the sort of the red pinky box, the 7.7 final test, that is an activity or a combination of questions which cover the material covered in the preceding homework assignments. And very similarly, here's an example from Unit 3 in German. 6.1 is vocabulary, 6.2 is another vocabulary homework, 6.3 covers grammar, Readings covered in 6.4. 6.5 is another grammar activity. 6.6 is a listening. And then the final test, 6.7, concludes that unit. And then the same for Spanish. You can see there's vocabulary, grammar, listening, grammar 2.4, another listening in 2.5, 2.6 is a reading, and then the final test is at the end. And next, then here we have the structure. I'll just step you through at a very high level what the structure looks like for each of the homework space French, German, and Spanish programs. But here you can see units 1 through to 12 are titles which you probably are familiar with, as you would see in a book 1 of your French scheme. And then the second and third year units are covered from 13 through to 26. The slight difference between the first year and the second and third year units is that each unit in first year from 1 through to 12 comprises 6 homeworks and 1 final test, whereas in second and third year it's a little bit longer. There's 8 homeworks and 1 final test at the end. And again, it'll be mentioned later on in the presentation, but we'll have a demo account that you'll be able to access and browse each of the homework space French, German, and Spanish programs. Then this again is how German is structured. So again, first year units 1 to 8, very common topics that will be covered in year 1, or maybe even into a little bit into year 2, and then units 9 through to 21. Again, exactly the same structure, 6 homeworks and 1 final test for first year homework units, and then 8 homeworks and 1 final test for the units that are in second and third year. And then for Spanish, very similar structure again. If you want to just take a look at that very quickly, we'll pause it there. Okay, and before I wrap up my section and hand you over to Kira, I thought I might just share some feedback from some of the teachers that are using homework space at the moment. So obviously, as the commissioning person behind this, I'm very curious to know and hopeful that the people who use homework space would rate it in terms of structure, question quality, question variety, and question feedback. And again, Kira will demo exactly what those question types and templates look like. But as you can see, certainly the people that are using the product at the moment rate those areas of homework space very highly, which is very pleasing to see. And then just another stat from a survey that we did of our teachers and our users of homework space, that of the people that we interviewed or surveyed, 78% of those teachers found that they'd make at least a 1 to 2 hour per class, or they would make a 1 to 2 hour per class saving per week. 6% thought they'd save 2 to 5 hours per class. And then there was 16% who didn't think they'd make any time saving, but of that cohort, they certainly did rate the product in terms of the its support of blended learning and an alternative to paper-based homework assignment setting. So thanks for listening, everybody, on that. And I think, Kira, it's over to you now.
So yeah, I'm going to introduce Kira. Just before I do, just to let you know that if you want to ask any questions at all, we have the Q&A session at the end. So if you have any specific questions to ask, do type them into the chat box, and we'll try and get to as many of those questions as possible during that Q&A section there. How's that now, Kira?
Yeah, I've got it now. So I can just show my screen, and we should all be looking at the Full and Type website. Great. Okay, so thanks for the introduction, Lizzie. Just to kind of reintroduce myself, I guess. I am a head of digital learning platforms at Folens. So essentially what that means is I headed the team who designed and built the functionality for Folan's Hive, or for Homework Space. So what I want to do is take you into Folan's Hive, where Homework Space lives, where its home is, and take you through some of the tasks that you would have to do as teachers if you were to use this product, and then also show you what the student experience is like. So I'm going to start by logging in as a teacher. And this will just take me into the library. So anyone who is already using Folan's Hive, the Homework Space products basically sit in your library, similar to any of the other programs that you'll be using. And then just to launch the product, you just click on the title. And I'm going to jump into French first as an example. So you can see here along the left-hand menu that these basically are the topics or the units which Connor referenced earlier on in his presentation. So you can see that each of the units covers off a different theme or topic, and then within each unit you have the individual homework activities. They cover off, different skills in French, such as vocabulary, listening, reading comprehension, or grammar. And then you'll notice that the last homework activity in each unit is a test. And so that will cover off all of the content that's been covered within that unit or topic. So what you're looking at here actually is the audio script. So for the MFLs, the audio script for all of the listening activities that are included in the product has been provided. But if you click on any of the activities themselves, you'll see that it loads a preview of the questions that are in that activity. So if you, for one that I'm going to use in a minute. So you can see that what the questions are. You can literally scroll through and see what the correct answers are, and just make sure that all of this content is covered before you actually assign it to your students. Then if you want to demo an activity, basically preview it the way a student would preview it, you can do that by clicking on this button. I'm going to show you the student experience in a minute, so I won't go through that now. What I want to focus on up here is this assign activity button. So to assign some homework, you click on that, and it essentially loads up this form. Loads up a form which you need to fill in order to assign the homework. So the first step is basically to select which activities you want to assign. So you can just assign a single activity. If you want, you can assign like the whole unit. So if I select Unit 2, you'll see that all the activities within that have been selected. If you say wanted to plan ahead or use it as a revision. But for now, I'm just going to select one activity. I'm going to assign 2.4. And then the next step is to decide who I'm going to assign that to. So again, if you click on your assigned classes section, it will give you a list of all of the classes which you are teaching. So it's just relevant to you. Or if you wanted, you can actually assign it to individual students. So again, you'll give you your classes, and then you can look within a class and select an individual student if you wanted. So and I suppose the important thing to remember here is that students they won't actually see any of this content until you assign it to them, and they also don't know what you've assigned to just them or to anyone else. So it's a good opportunity for differentiation if you did want to do that. So I'm going to assign this to my whole second year French class, and then the last step then is to set a due date. So you can see here that today's date appears in this available from section. That just basically means that the assignment will be available immediately to students. If you did want to plan ahead, or make sure that, if the class is tomorrow and you didn't want to assign it till after the class, you can do that. And then you set a due date. I'm going to set this for next Monday. And essentially what this means is that this is when the activity is going to be available to the student. So if they log in between these dates, they'll be able to complete the activity. If they log in after the due date, then they'll be told that they've missed it. So if you would like to allow students to submit the activity late, you can. You just click on this set indefinite extension period. You can just click on the icon. And that will mean that they can access it whenever, even after the deadline has passed. They can go in and complete it and submit it to you at any point. So once we've done that, you just click on Assign. And now that has been sent to our class. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just jump in and assign another activity, just so we can see the difference here. I'm going to jump into one of the Spanish activities and give this to one of our students as well, so that we can just get a variety of subjects when we're looking at the student experience. So this time I'll actually assign it to an individual student. So I'll go into my Spanish class, Sarah, and I'll give her till Monday as well. Did I select my activity? Okay, so now I'm going to log out of my teacher account and log in as a student. Just give that a second to load. So because I've assigned homework to Sarah, what will happen now is that as soon as we log into the platform, instead of landing in the library, I'm going to be taken directly to my assignment section. So, and this is because I've got due homework. So at any point, if I still have like homework and I log out again, if I haven't completed that homework, I'm going to keep returning to this page until I actually complete it. So we'll frustrate them into doing their homework. So let's start off and just jump into the French activity. You can see here that the students have got the due date, the information is outlined, and they've got an overview of the number of questions and things as well. And that's just repeated here again before they jump in. And so once they start the activity, there's just a few bits of information here. So they've got the title of the activity they're completing, the number of questions that are available, what question they're currently on, how many attempts they have at the question, and then, which is always one in homework space, we're just giving them one opportunity to answer it, and then the number of marks that are available for the question as well. So there are a number of, or there's a kind of a variety of different activity types that we use. So this here is a matching activity. I'm just going to take you through a couple of examples. So if we start with ça va, François, forgive the accent. So I'm going to drop that in there. French, going back to my Junior Cert French here now. And then I want to get this wrong. So I'm going to mix up the last two. And so essentially, so once I've completed it, I check my answer. And you can see here now that it's highlighted to me what answers I've submitted correctly, which ones are incorrect. And then I'm actually given feedback on what the correct answer is. So the last two are written out down here. Vous parlez français, do you speak French? And vous habitez en France, do you live in France? So I'm given the correct answer here, even though I got it wrong. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that we can see now that the number of marks that have kind of been awarded for this activity is 2 out of the 4 that were originally available. So where students don't fully get the answer correct, but where they, we reward them for the knowledge that they do know, as opposed to penalizing them. So I'm just going to move on to another activity type. So this is a kind of a reading comprehension, where students read the text and then just answer the questions. So Sophie's in college, and again, just check the answer. Once it's marked correct, I get that immediate feedback to say that is correct and that I've had marks rewarded. And I can go on and complete the next question and so on. These are all the same question types. I'm going to skip ahead here. And what else? Have I got another one? Oh yeah, okay, here's another question type within this. Again, this is a reading passage, so we're in obviously the reading focused activity. And here students have to match the statements to the person who said them. So there's a conversation kind of happening, and so I can say that, you know, Patrick is feeling well and happy. I'm not sure. Let's just randomly select a couple of these. Okay, so we can see I got them all wrong. But again, that's immediately highlighted, and I'm given the feedback here to say what is actually the correct. So it wasn't, you know, Patrick wasn't feeling well and happy, it was Mark, and so on. So once the students then have completed all of the questions in the assessment, they click on submit and have to confirm that they want to submit it. There's no changes obviously able to be made after they do. And so once they do it, they get their score. Unfortunately, not such a good score. And as soon as I close this, then we'll see that the activity has actually moved from the due section in my assignments to appear in the marked section. Now. So we can see the activity has appeared here now with my 4 out of 20, and I still have the one assessment due. So one of the other things I just want to show you quickly is that students can revisit any of these activities at any point. So if they jump in, if Sarah wants to jump back in at a later point, she can see exactly what the questions were, how she answered them, and again, what the correct answer is. So she can use this for revision, and she's got the reinforcement. So our multilingual, Sarah, is now going to take Spanish activity. So if I just jump in here, and again, just start the assignment. And yeah, so I wanted to show you an audio activity type. So essentially all of the MFLs incorporate an awful lot of audio. There's usually 1 or 2 homework activities that are dedicated to listening or oral practice. So, example.
Hola, Pepe. ¿Cuántos años tienes?
Hola, Juanita. Yo tengo 15. ¿Y tú? ¿Tienes 15 también?
No.
And so the idea is that they listen here and they would select the answers as they go through. I have no Spanish, so I don't even know if I didn't even get the first one right. Okay, but and again, the audio questions are incorporated with different types of questions. So again, you've got another one here, and this is they've got to select, you know, a couple of the correct answers. I won't go through and submit that since we've already got a submitted activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back out of this. And before I finish up with the student, actually, I'll just highlight one other thing. So obviously, what we're trying to do by directing the student to this page, if they have homework due, is just get them to complete the homework so that they don't have the excuse, say, of missing homework, you know, if they log in. But if they do want to access, for the more eager students who may want to access the content within the course structure, they can always access it via the library. But again, you'll see here now, so I close up to look at the unit that we were working on. So this was the activity that we assigned. And so if I click on that, you'll see that Sarah got 4 out of 20. And again, if you click on this, she'll be able to see the summary report of exactly what questions she answered and how she answered them. You can see that all the other questions in this unit have a little padlock icon against them. And that's basically to say that the activity hasn't been assigned by the teacher. So you are controlling that pace for students, but as they progress through the product, they actually do have this overview where they'll be able to collect like what their scores are, and they can use it for revision at any point. And this kind of, instead of just having it as the order of assignments, or the order in which assignments were assigned to them, they can actually look at it within the structure of topics as well. Okay, so that's everything I want to show you as a student. So I'm going to jump back out again, and now we're going to log back in as the teacher again. Okay, and actually I didn't do a German activity, so I'll quickly show you some of the content in the German, just to be fair to everybody. So again, similar structure. You've got the audio script and then all of your topics, and then within that, a variety of different question types. So this first activity uses some association style. Again, this selecting against the grid. And again, you can see this kind of on vocabulary. The next activity is on grammar. This one uses a drop down. And then you've also got listening activities as well. And again, you don't have to actually play the activity. You can preview
Hallo,
the audio.
wie ist dein Vorname bitte? Hallo, mein Vorname ist
From the preview pane as well. And if you do want to open an activity, again, as I said, you just launch it from here. And so if you wanted to say use this in class, if you wanted to do it together as a class, you can actually complete the activity and do it that way. Okay. So what I want to show you next then is we've assigned an activity to the class. One of the students we've seen, Sarah, has completed that activity. So now what I want to show you is how you can review Sarah's submission. So you come into this Manage Assignment section here under the library, and this essentially lists all of the assignments that you have given as a teacher. So it's personalized to you. It'll list everything out. You can see everything here is. I'm sorry, actually we have got this management as well. So you can select by class or by individual students. So the one I assigned just to Sarah will show up there. If I assign to class, if I pick my German class, I haven't assigned anything. But if I select my French class, I have a number here. And and again, you can do it by the product as well. That's to help you organize what you're looking at. But we can see here, so 2.4 was the assignment that I had sent to the class. And you can see kind of key information here, who was assigned to program, when it was assigned, the due date. This will actually go red once the due date has passed. So it kind of just helps as an alert. And you can see here then the number of students who have submitted the activity. So I can see that only one student, Sarah, has completed it. So if I jump into the actual activity, I can see that she's submitted, but that actually the vast majority of my students have still not done anything. And then from here, what you can do, if you want, is you can reassign activities. So if you wanted to say, if the due date had passed and you wanted to reassign it to all the students who hadn't submitted, you can just select, one or two if you want, or you can select them all, and then essentially set a new due date. I'm going to do that now. If you did want, so Sarah has actually already submitted, and we can see her score here. If you wanted to reassign it to her, that's also completely possible. You might decide that actually, Sarah's a better student than that. Give her another attempt to answer the questions. You just hit on reassign again and set a new due date. However, it will remove this score, so it will basically delete that score, reset the activity, and allow her to complete it again. But before we do that, let's just take a look at, so if you come along and you see, Sarah's score here and you realize it's not great, you may want to actually view her submission. So you can do that by clicking on this review button under the submissions heading. And again, this gives you literally all of the questions in the assignment, how Sarah answered them, which ones she got right or wrong, and it gives you, you've also got some overview of information. You can see how long she spent in the activity. So if she, if she's not performing well and has spent a long time on it, and it shouldn't have taken that long, that's another flag. And then if you want, you can write feedback. So you can just, let's cover this one. So you could just do it on a single question, or you can give her feedback, just a kind of a more generic feedback down here as well, and send that on to her. And then the last report I want to show you is this compares student responses. I'm going to jump into another activity though, because we only have one student. So this activity, I've got 5 out of 11 students who have submitted it. So I'm going to jump in here. And again, you can just see here at a glance how the students are performing. But if I use this report, what's quite useful about this is it gives you all of the students in your class, and it gives you all of the questions in this specific activity. So what allows you to see is actually, okay, well, not everyone's completed it again, but it allows you to see, okay, question 5, everyone's getting question 5 wrong. So there's something here that they're not understanding. And that might be just a flag for something you might want to cover in class. Okay, so all of the information in the manage assignment section basically allows you to track an individual homework activity. So this will be what you'd be using on your kind of day-to-day basis as you assign homework after a class or a session. If then you've been using it for the whole year or over a 3-year period, and you want to monitor a student's progress over like that time, you can come down here to this report section, and within the performance reports, you can again just select your class, that's in French, and what this will pull up is a report across all of the units that have been authored, and you can see how students are performing against them. So it just kind of gives you a high level overview that, against each topic, how students have performed, how each student has performed, and you can then drill down into these if you want. So if I go into, let's have a look first at Bonjour, which is the one that I just assigned to Sarah. So she's, again, we can see here she's the only one who's actually completed this activity, even though it's been assigned. And then if I jump back out, you can see here then, so kind of a few more activities have been completed here, and how they're just averaged to basically give you the score against each time. That just helps you track progress against the overall program, which is quite useful. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys ask some questions. So let me stop sharing my screen.
We're good. So yeah, thank you very much, Kira. That brought us really nicely through everything there. It really means that people have got a very good idea of exactly what to expect. I'm just going to give you an idea of the pricing. Just want to give you an idea of the pricing bundles now. So Homework Space comes as an annual school subscription. And there's 3 pricing bundles. So basically, if you wanted to just buy for one subject for a group of students, the basic price is €8.50 per student per subject, and that's the annual school subscription. We then have sort of better deals then if you decide as a school that you want to use more than one subject. So our multi-bundle is €21 per student, and that covers 3 subjects. And those are anything out of the subjects that Connor mentioned earlier. We then have an incredible offer then, which is where it's called the premium. And if you wanted your students to have access to all the subjects for Homework Space, so this would be, if you had a decision between a few departments, it would only be €29.50 per student for all of those subjects. So literally every subject that we offer for Homework Space at the moment. And those prices are inclusive of VAT. So that's our annual school subscriptions. And then specifically today, I'm really delighted to be able to say to you that we have an exclusive offer in place this evening for webinar attendees, okay, for this webinar and the next couple of days of webinars as well. The first 50 schools to sign up will be eligible for this. And this is the price for subscriptions for this school year, so that's for your first subscription for this school year, is that the basic will be €4.25 per student per subject. So that's 50% discount. So that's a really fantastic discount. And I'm sure based on what you've seen this evening, you'll see that that's really, really worthwhile. That offer ends the end of October. Okay, so that's for the first 50 schools to sign up, and that's exclusive to webinar attendees. Okay, so that's the pricing. Okay, and as Connor mentioned earlier, this is a really, really important point. We've set up a demo account on Folan's Hive for you teachers to have a really good look yourselves, to get a good sense and to have a good look around it. You can check out the various units and what they cover in detail. You can also even try out the questions as if you're a student there as well. So that'll give you a very, very good sense of what you're getting. And I know you've seen plenty this evening, but just, you know, in your own time, do have a look at those. And to get into there, you can log into Folan's Hive, and that's folanshive.ie, using the username demo@folans.ie and the password Folans, okay? There will be a link to that on our website shortly as well, but I mean, I'll give you a minute just to take down this information as well. So it's folanshive.ie, the username is demo@folans.ie, and the password is Folans. So do feel free to get in there and have a really good look at the questions, have a really good look at, you know, what it's like as a student as well. Kira showed you earlier the little button to click to see what it would be like as a student as well. And I think it's well worth having a good look, so you can really make an educated decision about what you're signing up to. We have a specialist homework person, so homework space specialist, and that's Brian McGarvey. And he will be very, very happy to, if you've got colleagues who weren't able to join us this evening on the webinar, Brian will be very, very happy to take you through homework space, or indeed your local rep either. And you can order from Brian or your local rep at the special webinar price that I mentioned earlier. So that's Brian McGarvey, and his mobile number is 087 050 1951, and his email is brian.mcgarvey@folans.ie. So I'll give you a moment to take that down as well. Okay. So now we're going to move on to our Q&A section. So I'm delighted to bring Kira and Connor back on with us now. And I'm actually just going to switch off my screen so you can see us in full Technicolor. So you should, yeah, brilliant. You can just see us now, so that's fantastic. So we've had really great engagement this evening. Lots and lots of people, as I said, joined this evening. Absolutely delighted to have you all here. But we've had plenty of questions come through as well. So I think I'm just going to fire some questions at Kira and Connor, and hopefully they'll be able to answer them. I'm sure they will. Okay, so the first question that I have, I think this is a Kira question, okay, is, are teachers able to amend or create their own questions, or is everything preset?
So everything is preset. You can't edit a question or amend a question. The reason being that part of what I showed you with that performance report at the end, all of the questions are set to have a similar number of points. So it just gives you that consistency across the entire product. And again, if you're worried that the students mightn't have covered something, or you wouldn't have covered off that topic, you can see the questions that are in the activity. So that's what that preview is for. You don't have to do the activity, but you can take a quick glance and make sure that you've covered it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think the important thing in there, and what's really, really helpful, is the fact that everything's done. That's what saves the time for the teachers, isn't it? And it's just, I mean, those questions are expertly written by fantastic teachers and fantastic authors, and it's really, really, it just saves so much time for the teachers by having that done for them. And as you say, they can pick and choose which bits they want to use. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's a question here. I think this is a Connor question. Are there any plans to do homework space for senior cycle?
Well, for now, the focus, and it's all about junior cycle. That's what the product's all about. I think definitely we're interested in doing something for Leaving Cert for senior cycle. I guess the question is, what will teachers want? What would students want? And is that the same as what happens or what they need for junior cycle? So we will look into that, whether it's homework space or something else. I'm sure there will be something in the pipeline pretty soon for that.
Fantastic. Sounds exciting. Okay, so this is probably a Kira question. So what devices can the students and the teachers use homework space on?
Okay, so homework space is a browser-based product. So you essentially just, as you saw what I was doing, you go to the website and you log in. So you can use it on desktop, particularly as a teacher. I'd recommend, desktop or laptop. And you can use it on tablet devices. So it'll be the same experience and same orientation. We have had actually people asking if you can use it on mobile phones, if students specifically can use it on mobile phones. Again, the whole experience hasn't really been designed for that, but students can go in, like all of the questions that I showed you, they all actually adjust and resize based on the size of your device. The students can go in and complete their homework on it and submit the activity. But for the whole experience, we would want to be logging in on a browser, bigger screen.
Okay, so bigger screens are ideal, but it can be done the other way.
Yes, exactly. Simpler way of answering.
Brilliant. Okay, so there's a question here. This is a Connor question, I think. So are the final tests similar to the tests that are offered during the units and, as they go through, or are they different?
So the final tests are structured slightly differently. As I said, I think when I tried to demo it earlier, it's a culmination of everything really. So if you're covering vocabulary, grammar, reading, comprehensions and listening, there will be a combination of those different question types that Kira demoed in that. Yeah. So it's kind of an aggregation of all of those things together. But it's not like it's a similar environment that you're in. They're not like worksheets or anything like that. It's very much an interactive final test, probably a little bit longer, and more marks are allocated, I think, to it as well.
Yeah.
With that as well, I should have pointed this out in my demo. So you saw that as I completed each question, I got immediate feedback as the student. That only happens for the homework activity. So when I'm doing the test, it's like a real life test scenario. I just answered the question, but I don't know if I got it right or wrong until I submit the test, and then I get a final score. I can go back in.
So that's much more like a test. Yeah.
But
so it's a little bit, it's a little harsher. I guess the homeworks, as Kira was suggesting or saying there, that they provide more instant and immediate feedback to students. They can check their answers as they go, whereas the final test at the end has more of a test environment, a little harsher. But it's a good robust test of what they've learned in that particular unit.
Fantastic, great stuff. Okay, so this is a question, I think, this is a Kira one. So now this is probably a really important one actually. So and lots of teachers ask this. So how do the classes get set up or assigned in the first place with the student names? How is all that data put in and inputted in the first place?
Good question. Okay, yeah. So obviously, when I was doing it, the classes had already been set up for the. So at the moment, we are. So to get set up on the system initially, we need you to send through the students who are in the school and what classes that they're going to be in and what subjects they're taking. So we have a little form that you fill in to do that. You send that in to us, and we are doing that work for you at the moment. Ultimately, we're actually working on something at the moment that will enable you to do it, where you'll be able to just search for the students in your school and add them into your own class. So it'll be something you'll be able to self-serve in the future, which will make it a little bit easier. But for now, it's a form that you just fill in and send on to us.
Yeah, and just to make a note as well, that's fully GDPR compliant as well, under the school's usual GDPR rules and things like that, so that there's nothing to worry about there. And we take that side of things very, very seriously as well. So just in case anyone had any concerns about that. Okay, so any other questions I have? So this is the question. So I think this is Akira. Can you see all the sample questions on the teacher login, or is it just on the student one that you can see them all?
So as a teacher, you are controlling everything, so you can see all of that preview questions, and you can also take each assessment as if you were a student for every single assignment, and then the students actually only get to see what you've assigned to them. So once you've assigned to them, they can see it, but up until then, it's blocked for them.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And then this is a fairly simple one. How do students log on to Home Workspace?
Yeah, okay, so essentially they go to folenshive.ie and they will put in their username and password. And so essentially what we're saying as part of this setup is, because you're giving us the list of students in your class, they'll literally get back a login, which will be, we would always recommend you use a school email address and a simple password. And they can then just literally put that in and they're logged in.
Yeah.
And as I was showing, when you go into the product, and again, if you're accessing this on your phone or a device, whatever, that it will always redirect you to that assignment section. So if they do homework, once they log in, it's the first thing they see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. And now, how did you get into that? Oh, right. How did you get into that section with giving feedback to the students? So yeah, so if you could just re-describe the how to give the feedback to the student bit, maybe.
Yeah. Do you want to give me control and I can show it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that now.
Great. Okay, I can.
Have you got control now? Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this was, sorry, the question was how to see giving the feedback to the individual student.
Yeah. So how to get into that section where they were giving feedback. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, I'm going to do it from this section. So within your library, under the manage assignments area, where your full list of assignments are, just click on the assignment. This is my Sarah one, and here under submissions, so you can click on review, and that will open up the actual submitted answers, and you can go in and basically provide feedback here. So I might just demo this if it's worth work on this. And I'm just going to send that to the student. I quickly log out, log in as Sarah. Again, we can see that. Sarah will get like she'll get a little notification. Basically, once you log in, get a notification to say you've been provided feedback. If you click on that, it'll come in and you can see the teacher's feedback here. Let's work on this harder, which isn't great English. Sorry. Right. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I think it does. Absolutely. Okay, and there's a question here. Oh, no, I don't want to show my screen. There we go. I think we're good like that. And there's a question here about, hang on a second. Oh, yes, TY students. So is this suitable for TY students is a question?
I guess it depends on your approach maybe to TY. It's been designed for your cycle, but if your approach is more to look back, consolidate the knowledge, and the learning from the junior cycle, I guess you would focus on the latter stages of your junior cycle, homework space, French, German, or Spanish. And it's probably suitable in that regard. And you could dip in and out of it, I suppose, depending on what topics, themes, language skills, grammar, vocabulary that you wanted to lay the groundwork for before your students move on into fifth year. So it's not designed for TY, but I do think you could probably use it in TY, dip in and out of it as needs be.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about the current TYs who might have missed a fair amount of junior cycle.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point there, because they would have. And there's probably an element of catch up that's maybe needed in TY. I mean, I have a TY student in my own house, and I know that he's scrambling at the moment to to cover some of the syllabus for previous from the year previous. So in that regard, yes, it would be good for that, and probably quite timely with all of what's happened with COVID and time that students lost, and teachers too.
Exactly. There's a question here, and I think I'll probably answer it, is around how you actually send the work to the class. So they'll get notifications, won't they, within Homework Space. But I know that a lot of teachers are now using Teams or Outlook or Google Classrooms, and so there's nothing to stop teachers sort of, you know, putting a notification in that, putting a quick note to say check Homework Space for your homework, or you know, that sort of thing. So if that's their normal way, if that's the normal way of communicating with your students, it's really a case of use your normal way to communicate. But there will be notifications within Homework Space as well. And if their homework was, you know, mainly once or twice a week going to be in Homework Space, they'll know to look anyway. But you know, do use your normal methods of communication. I think is probably the best thing there, whether it be Teams, Google Classrooms, etc. I'm being asked to put up the demo login again. I will try and do that now.
That demo account as well, I think, would be really useful for people who want to, after this, go in and take a closer look at everything, because there's a lot to take on board, I think, in this webinar, and to go in and to test to see if you're specifically French, German, Spanish. You can delve into that account, and that'll give you a really good picture of what's in there.
Yeah, so the demo account is folandshive.ie. It's demo at, the username is demo@folans.ie, and the password is Folans. Can you see that there now?
Yeah, can you?
Right. Yeah, lovely. Okay, great stuff. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up. Oh yeah, there is a good question here actually. Do second and third years have access to first year assignments?
Well, it's a subscription, right, Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess as long as the subscription exists, you can view back to what you did in previous years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're a third year, sorry.
No, just that it tracks students as they go from first year through to third year, if you're resubscribing each year.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things actually as a teacher, so say you inherit a class second years and you're a third year teacher, if they've been using the product the whole way along with a different teacher, you actually will inherit the information kind of follows the student. So if they're in your class, you can actually look back and see what they've done in first year and second year and how they've performed. So which is
really helpful. Yeah.
Students like, so, and they'll have access to everything that they have done in the past as well. They can go back and review it themselves.
Fantastic, brilliant stuff. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps up all the questions. There's loads and loads of questions this evening. So I want to say a big thank you very, very much. I know it's it's evening time, and I know that everyone's had a hard day in work. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. Amazing number of you have joined us. We will be putting a recording of this webinar up. You'll receive it. You'll receive it automatically anyway because you've been an attendee here. As we close off the webinar, you will get a quick questionnaire as well. If you could just fill that in immediately, that'd be fantastic. And as I said, you'll get sent out a recording of this evening should you want to delve back into what's been said. So that's all from us this evening. Thank you so much we've gone a little bit over on time, but that's because of all the questions. So thank you very much to everybody. And so that's good night from us. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening.